This creature was caught on camera at a Northside neighborhood.
Oh my God! That's a big gator, buddy.
The animal kingdom is vast and diverse, but not all animals are created equal. No two are exactly alike. Today, we're showcasing some of the most unusual creatures many people never knew existed. From a fish with a peculiar name to an animal that shocked entire neighborhood in Louisiana, here are the 20 strangest animals that are hard to believe are real. Number 20. Urus Unicinctus. I know the name is impossible to pronounce, but I guess if you're really having trouble with it, I can offer you the more common name, the pink fish. Yeah, the pink fish. Look, man, we live on an unpredictable planet. We should have expected the fish would arrive eventually. When David Ford visited California's Drake's Bay, he never could have expected what he found on the shore, thousands of severed, whelpie or so we thought. While David initially believed he had stumbled upon some sort of insane genital massacre, he quickly realized that they were merely 10-inch long innkeeper worms. But while the giant pink party may have looked like a mess to visitors, the local wildlife absolutely loved it. In fact, the seagulls had eaten so much they could barely stand. I'll let you guys make up your own jokes on that one. It kind of says a lot about the state of the world that the discovery of a beach filled with a large, pea-like fish is barely acknowledged by the news or even the late-night shows. You'd think they would have gone to town on the seagulls eating pink fish jokes. Well, like the fish themselves, I think we've gone on long enough. Let's see if the next animal on our list is weirdly genital-related. Number 19. Coatimundi. I know what you're thinking. What the hell is a coatimundi? Rest assured, my friends, your friendly neighborhood voice artist is here to answer all of your questions. Well, your one question, basically. I'm going to answer that question whether you want it or not. The coatimundi, also commonly known as the coati, is a diurnal mammal native to South America, Central America, Mexico, and the southwestern United States. They are, I think it's fair to say, a little strange. A fully grown coati typically measures between 13 and 27 inches long from head to the base of their tail, making them a relatively small animal, especially when you compare it to a giraffe. But that's just your average coati. There's also such a thing as a mountain coati, and if you can believe it, they're even smaller than your average run-of-the-mill coati, even if you put it beside a giraffe. Despite their slight habitat differences, every coati looks more or less the same. While nobody's adopting these things as domestic pets, they're pretty much the same size as your cat. But again, probably not a great idea to take one of these things into your house, if only because, well, it's a wild animal. What are you, nuts? So I respect it. Number 18. Panda Ant. Take your average run-of-the-mill ant and spice it up with a little bit of panda. What do you get? Panda Ant. I know it sounds like the opening to some weird 1990s Saturday morning cartoon, but the panda ant is a very real thing, and it's interesting. In 1938, the panda ant was first discovered in Chile's coastal forests. It was quickly named for its unique coloration, which sees the ant covered in white except the eyes, and with black and white spots everywhere else. But don't go thinking that the coloring is just some curious, all-year-round Halloween costume. It's there for a reason, and that reason is to scare away predators. Obviously, this ant has a most painful sting which nobody wants to be on the receiving end of, not unlike pandas actually. Have you ever been punched by a panda? It's not a fun time, even when it's just a man in a costume. The panda ant may be tiny, but it's certainly a mighty opponent. You're unlikely to see ants like these anywhere else in the world, unless somebody is creating weird animal hybrids and I don't know about it. Honestly, I could believe it. It would not surprise me to find out that's happening. Number 17. Lan Streak Tenrec. If you've never heard of a tenrec before, I'll warn you, you're going to be very confused in a moment. The tenrec is a very unusual and small animal that's both cute and just plain strange to look at. But we're going to focus on the Lan Streak Tenrec. This species is found throughout Madagascar in the tropical lowland rainforest, and it seems to thrive in just about every part of the forest. You can often find it on land, splashing around in the shallow water, or just digging around. I guess they like to make use of all the facilities. They're probably easiest recognized by the strange, spiky quills that can be found around the side of their heads. According to experts, these spines can detach when the animal feels threatened, an advanced technique to defend themselves against potential predators. Nice forward thinking there by Evil Evolution. The tenrec is just a strange, unusual animal. It's a little like a leftover from the dinosaur era, but smaller and a little weirder. Should we be afraid of it? Should we hug it? Should we make a kid's cartoon about them trying to make it big in the city? I have no idea, but I do like the quill collar. It's very 1715. Number 16. Redlipped Batfish. Every now and then, you find an animal that is so loaded with red flags you don't even know where to begin. The red-lipped batfish is one of them. You shouldn't be expecting some kind of underwater vigilante superhero here. This is just a really weird creature. Let's be clear on this point. The red-lipped batfish is known for one thing more than any other, the giant red lips. I don't know which plastic surgeon worked on them or why, but I have to say it, the work is obvious. I'm sorry, buddy, but it gets stranger because this fish isn't even good at literally the only thing fish have to do. Yeah, it can't swim. In fact, the red-lipped batfish is known to walk on the ocean floor using its adapted pectoral, pelvic, and anal fins. A fish that's not good at swimming. Maybe the lips just weigh it down. The name may initially suggest a kind of Batman-like fish with maybe some lipstick, but no, this is much stranger. I guess it's like if the Joker tried to become Batman but as a fish with big lips and can't swim. This may be a terrible analogy, is what I'm finding out right now. Now it's time for today's topic. Down in a quiet Louisiana neighborhood, things took a turn for the downright bizarre one hot summer afternoon. Folks were minding their business when a loud, creepy noise started echoing from one of the roadside garbage bins. At first, folks figured it was just a raccoon looking for a snack or maybe some kid pulling a prank. But oh no, it wasn't anything like that. When old Joe from down the street decided to man up and check what the heck was going on, everyone huddled around with their phones out, just in case. As Joe carefully opened the bin, what popped out had the whole block hollerin'. It looked like something straight outta a sci-fi flick. Big OL yellow eyes, gnarly claws, and tentacle-like limbs writhing around like it was just woken up from a nap. The thing darted halfway out of the bin, then stopped, staring everyone down like they were the ones in the wrong. Some say it's an escaped lab experiment. Others, they're calling it Trashy, claiming it's some alien that crash-landed in the bayou. One kid joked, "Guess ET really does phone home." Through the garbage hotline, whatever it was, it left everyone buzzing and keeping their distance from the trash cans for a while. Only in the USA, right? Number 15. Lilacbreasted Roller. It's not often we get a chance to discuss the birds of sub-Saharan Africa, but when we do, well, we're gonna take that chance. The Lilacbreasted Roller is not just any bird, it's the Kenyan national bird. Also, it has a bunch of names, like a bunch. The Coraceus caudatus, the fork-tailed roller, the lilac-throated roller, Mazilakatsu's roller. The names just keep on coming. But don't worry too much about the names. This animal is only widely distributed in sub-Saharan Africa, and you're probably not going to see it anywhere anyway. Well, unless you specifically go hunting for it. You see, the lilac-breasted roller likes to perch conspicuously on top of trees or other high vantage points. So, while the tree may spot you, the likelihood of you spotting it first, well, the chances are pretty low, honestly. But that may be a good thing since they're surprisingly aggressive, particularly during the breeding season. So yeah, you may never see a lilac-breasted roller in person, but it's always fascinating to know such an animal exists. And just remember that the world is a very large place, and we're pretty tiny in the grand scheme of things. So there's some existential dread for you. Number 14. Bilby. Take a deep breath, gather your thoughts, and prepare to meet the animal they call the Bilby. I know it kind of sounds like the name of some obscure animated cartoon animal, but just trust me, there's a lot more to this animal than just wandering around singing songs. Long ago, when Europeans colonized Australia, there were two species of bilby, which also goes by the name rabbit-eared bandicoot. Sadly, by the 1950s, the lesser bilby had become extinct. Today, the greater bilby continues to survive, but it's widely known to be an endangered species. Bilbies are known for their nocturnal lifestyle, emerging under the cover of darkness to forage for food. They're expert diggers, capable of creating complex burrows to escape predators and the harsh Australian heat. These burrows can reach depths of up to 6 feet and are often shared with other animals seeking refuge. Predation from introduced species such as foxes and feral cats has heavily contributed to their population decline, alongside habitat loss due to human activities. Conservation efforts, including breeding programs and protected habitats, have been implemented to give the bilby a fighting chance. On average, the bilby measures around 22 inches long, not including the tail. And as for where it gets that name from, the bilby has very long ears, which are often compared to those of a rabbit or bunny. Australia, man. Where else can you find animals like these? In case you're wondering, the bilby is an omnivore, which basically just means they'll eat whatever they can get their little mitts on, as they should. While there's no telling what the future holds for our little bilby, we can hope that they continue to find a way to survive and thrive, even in these dire times for the population. Number 13. Sunda Kugo. How many species of flying lemurs can you name? If you just said 2, you both have too much time on your hands, and also, you're wrong. Apparently, there are more than 2 species, but for a long time, experts believed there were only 2, the Philippine flying lemur and the Sunda flying lemur, also known as the Sunda Kugo. The Sunda flying lemur can be found throughout Southeast Asia. But don't be fooled by the name, just about everything in that name is a lie. Not only is the Sunda flying lemur not a lemur, but it also can't even fly. In fact, it just kind of glides while leaping between trees. Talk about false advertising. The creature is considered so valuable that it's actually protected by national legislation throughout Southeast Asia. Unfortunately, the increase in habitat loss, competition with other species, and local hunting continue to provide challenges to protecting the population. All that said, the Sunda flying lemur is still one of the most protected species in Southeast Asia. Because even though they're one of the biggest examples of false advertising you can hope to find in the wild, people really like them, which is presumably why they keep hunting them. Make it make sense. Number 12. Pangalan. Not all anteaters are born alike. For instance, some have scales, hence the name scaly anteaters, or, as they're better known, pangolins. There's no animal on Earth quite like a pangolin except, as we've established, the anteaters. But we've established this is not okay. We're just going in circles, and if we keep going with this, we're not going to get anywhere. Let's look at the animal. Pangolins are mammals found in Asia and Africa, and they are curious little things. The species vary in size from between 12 to 39 inches, but there are additional extinct species whose size we just don't know. Modern pangolins have a unique defense mechanism. When threatened, they curl up into a tight ball, their scales forming an almost impenetrable shield against predators. Unfortunately, this also makes them easy targets for poachers, as their scales are highly valued in traditional medicine and illegal wildlife trade. In fact, pangolins are the most trafficked mammals in the world, which has pushed many of their species to the brink of extinction. Conservationists are working tirelessly to protect these fascinating creatures, whose populations are rapidly dwindling due to habitat loss and poaching. So what do we know? Well, we have a slightly strange connection to these creatures. Pangolins have large keratin scales, not unlike fingernails or toenails. But while we only have them on our fingers and toes, these animals have them all over, making them the only mammal to do so. In terms of their diet, you don't have to worry about being eaten by a pangolin. Not only are they significantly smaller than you, but they're only interested in ants and termites. Trying to feed a human to a pangolin would be like taking a vegan to McDonald's. Nobody's going to enjoy the experience. Number 11. Sparkle Muffin. Let me tell you in advance, I know the sparkle muffin sounds like the cutest, most adorable little animal you've ever heard of, but that illusion is about to be shattered quite quickly for many of you, because my friends, Little Miss Sparkle Muffin is a spider. I'm sorry, arachnophobes. The Moratus jactatus, or sparkle muffin, is a species of Australian peacock spider, and like just about every animal native to Australia, it immediately qualifies for a place on the Keep This Thing Away From Me list. The sparkle muffin has the ability to jump lengths of around 50 times its size. And if that's not enough to make you feel itchy, I don't know what is. Surprisingly, these spiders have only ever been collected in the Wundle Range National Park in southern Queensland, raising the question of whether they exist anywhere else. I'm sure for many arachnophobes, the answer will be a resounding please, Lord, no. These spiders are called the sparkle muffin because of their unique coloring and iridescent scales. But for many people, myself included, that'll just be an ironic name they want absolutely nothing to do with. Sparkle Muffin is the name of a cute and cuddly cat. Want to name a spider? Call it the Get the Hell Away From Me special. Number 10. Axolotl. Even the name sounds like something that I just made up, but trust me, the axolotl does exist. And if you can believe this, it has an even stranger name, the Mexican walking fish. Yeah, I'm being very serious. Axolotl doesn't sound so silly now, does it? Actually, the axolotl isn't even a fish, it's an amphibian. Upon first discovery, the species was found in several lakes, most notably Mexico City's Lake Xochimilco. Sadly, these fascinating animals are facing many struggles. By 2020, wild axolotls were near extinction due to the rapid urbanization of Mexico City and water pollution, not to mention the introduction of invasive species that threaten the axolotl. Even when you venture into the wild, you won't find much comforting news. They're listed as critically endangered in the wild because of deforestation and because they're often used in scientific research and sold as food. So not only is the axolotl an animal that many people aren't familiar with, it's an animal they may not have the ability to get to know, which is truly heartbreaking. Thankfully, conservationists and non-profit organizations all over the world are doing their best to ensure that the axolotl gets a chance to survive and thrive. Let's just hope it works. Number 9. Kinkajou. Life in the tropical rainforest isn't easy, but then who claimed that it was? Well, I can tell you who would say that the kinkajou. Unfortunately, the kinkajou is an animal and as such cannot actually speak. So let's just scratch that from the record. The kinkajou is a tropical rainforest mammal that's somewhat related to raccoons. It's also known as the honey bear, making it sound like a fun-loving Winnie the Pooh type creature. And sure enough, the kinkajou has never worn pants, so the evidence is starting to stack up. Contrary to popular belief, the kinkajou is not, in fact, endangered. It's just that it's strictly nocturnal, meaning people can't actually see them unless they're prepared to stay up late. And even if they do stay up late, they'll probably end up missing them. So that's unfortunate. But hey, at least we know they exist. It's currently unknown whether the kinkajou is related to Winnie the Pooh or not, but what we do know is that they're often sadly hunted for their skins and meat because, humans like to be jerks to animals sometimes. We should add that these animals are not yet endangered, though, so it's probably only a matter of time. So there's a nice, depressing thought. Number 8. Alligator gar. What's the biggest fish in the United States? I don't have an answer to that question, but I have the next best thing. A very, very big fish. This is the alligator gar, and it's pretty much exactly what it suggests. A giant gar with alligator-like qualities, maybe with fewer murders. The alligator gar is easily the biggest species in the gar family and is counted among the largest freshwater fish in all of North America. In fact, studies have shown that the fish can be traced back to the early Cretaceous period, some 100 million years ago. That means they're one of what are commonly known as living fossils because they're basically primitive fish. Adding to their prehistoric vibe, they have thick, armor-like scales that were once used by Native Americans to make tools and even shields. These fish are known for their ability to survive in both freshwater and brackish water, a skill that has helped them endure for millions of years. They also have a unique respiratory system, allowing them to gulp air and survive in oxygen-deprived waters where most other fish would perish. With their massive size and terrifying teeth, they've become both a subject of fascination and fear for anglers. As for the name, well, they simply got that because they happen to look very similar to alligators with their broad snout and long, scary-looking sharp teeth. While there isn't any recorded evidence that this is true, anecdotal claims have pegged the alligator gar as growing up to 10 feet long. Again, there's no credible reason to believe that's true. But also, and hear me out here, there's no credible reason to believe it's not true. Yeah, made you think there, didn't I? That's what big fish do. They really make you think. Number 7. Echidna. Did you know that on our entire planet, only 5 species of living mammals lay eggs? That's absolutely true. 4 species are the echidna, another species of echidna, a third species of echidna, yet another species of echidna, and the platypus. There's probably a better way to say all that, but oh well. Yeah, the 4 existing species of the echidna, also known as the spiny anteater, are among the only living mammals to lay eggs. These surprising animals live in Australia and New Guinea and have an evolutionary history that goes back some 50 million years. At that time, their ancestor was an aquatic creature, but thanks to evolution, the echidna adapted to an all-new life on land. This may explain why they're so easy to mistake for other anteaters or spiny mammals. But no, this is an echidna that we're talking about, and don't you forget it. Much like the platypus, the echidna is equipped with electrosensors, which are used to sense burrowing prey nearby. Much like their biological cousin, the echidna just loves to eat ants, earthworms, and all manner of other tiny little insects. Even with 50 million years of history, they're still pretty much the same animal as they always were. You have to admire the level of consistency there. No veganism for this guy. Number 6. Tasmanian Devil. You know him. You love him. Taz is indeed one of the strangest and, I would argue, one of the looniest Looney Tunes out there. It's almost hard to believe that he's Eve. Wait, what? We're doing the real guy. But I had a whole script. Okay, fine. The Tasmanian Devil, the real one, is a carnivorous marsupial with a most intriguing, everything. For a long time, the Tasmanian Devil was only found on the island state of Tasmania, but that's not the case anymore. In fact, it's since been reintroduced to mainland Australia. And how's that gonna go? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. The animal is mostly known for its stocky, muscular build and its extremely loud and often disturbing screech. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that it's among the strongest bites per unit body mass of any predator land mammal in the world. If you get bit by this thing, you're gonna feel it and you may just go loony. Obviously, the cartoon version of the Tasmanian Devil is a little bit less terrifying than its real-life counterpart. Just a little bit, but it's most definitely an animal you'll have to see to believe. Now we just have to find a wisecracking rabbit and a southern rooster, and we can start getting the gang together. Number 5. Dumbo Octopus. In the classic 1941 Disney movie Dumbo, a young elephant bullied for his large ears discovers that they give him the incredible ability to fly. So you would expect that the Dumbo Octopus has also found a way to hit the skies, right? Wrong. It's just an octopus that looks a little weird. Join the club, buddy. The Dumbo Octopus gets its name from the fact that it resembles the title character of the said Disney movie. Specifically, they have uniquely prominent ear-like fins that extend from the mantle above each eye, giving the appearance of extra-large ears. Found in the deep ocean, often at depths of 13,000 feet or more, these octopuses have adapted to live in some of the most extreme environments on Earth. Instead of flying, they use their ears to gracefully propel themselves through the water, often gliding with an elegance that rivals even the most skilled divers. Their diet primarily consists of crustaceans and worms, which they swallow whole thanks to their lack of a radula, a tongue-like structure most octopuses have. Another fun fact, the Dumbo octopus doesn't ink like its shallow water relatives, since there are fewer predators at such depths. Sadly, they seem unable to fly, or at the very least, they just haven't quite worked out how to turn their huge ears into flight mechanism. My advice is to just keep waving them until you eventually take flight. That's what seemed to work in the movies. The Dumbo octopus is a fascinating creature, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit disappointed by the fact that it can't fly. I mean, sure, I can't fly either and I have big ears, but, well, I'm human. What's the octopus's excuse? I rest my case. Number 4. Venezuelan Poodle Moths. Moths are just generally weird animals. Actually, I'd expand on that by saying that pretty much any animal that turns to dust should be considered weird. But the Venezuelan Poodle Moth is especially strange. And yeah, it actually exists, we double-checked. In 2009, Kyrgyzstani zoologist Dr. Arthur Anker was taking photos of animals in Venezuela when he discovered this odd-looking thing. Dr. Anker took 75 photos of this animal, which was later officially named the Venezuelan Poodle Moth due to its physical appearance, looking like a cross between a moth and a poodle. Those are two animals that seem destined for a hybrid someday. Dr. Anker has long insisted that the animal is real, but the lack of information has led many to conclude that the whole thing is likely some elaborate hoax. Expeditions have since headed to the same region in hopes of finding the moth, but all have been unsuccessful. We have no idea if Dr. Anker was telling the truth or not. But I will say this, of all the animals he could have chosen to make up, a moth that looks a little like a poodle probably wouldn't have been on my list of guesses. If he made it up, the guy should consider some kind of career in kids' toys because, oh boy, this guy's mind. Number 3. Jabarustor stork. The stork is, in itself, just a very strange animal. I mean, how many animals deliver human babies to their new parents? Answer, just the stork. It's a full-time job after all. But the Jabarustor stork? Well, this one doesn't deliver babies, it just kind of chills. The Jabaroo is a large stork native to South America. But just because an animal is native to one continent doesn't mean it stays on that continent. In fact, the Jabaroo is often found wandering into the United States, everywhere from Texas to Mississippi. These storks are known for their massive size, standing at up to 5 feet tall with a wingspan of nearly 9 feet, making them one of the largest flying birds in the Americas. Despite their awkward appearance, they are graceful in flight and use their long legs to wade through shallow waters in search of food. The Jabaroo's diet is diverse, consisting of fish, amphibians, and even small mammals, which they hunt with their sharp beaks. They are also known for building enormous nests high up in trees, some of which can weigh over 200 pounds and be reused year after year. Their striking black and white plumage and bright red neck pouch make them unmistakable and often a favorite for wildlife photographers. So, what exactly does Jabaroo mean? It means swollen neck because, well, do I even have to say it? It's generally frowned upon for any of us to accuse somebody else of having a fat neck. But, I mean, the necklace fits, you know? That's the Jabaroo stork guarantee. The Jabaroo is one of the more unusual species of stork, which is saying something. While it may not deliver babies in questionably packaged hanging baskets, it does something possibly more important. It has a fat neck. Okay, so it's not that important, but it looks weird, and isn't that the whole point of this video? I think so. Number 2. Leafy Sea Dragon. Alright, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. You're wondering if it's actually leafy or if it's a lie too. Well, they are kinda leafy, so sure, it's true. Or, you know, close enough. We'll go with close enough for now. The leafy sea dragon is a marine fish in the family Syngnathidae, which also includes sea dragons and seahorses. So why is it so leafy? Duh, it has those long leaf-like protrusions all over its body. Of course, they're not actually used for swimming or movement of any kind. In fact, the leafiness is really more for camouflage than anything else, a way to disguise itself against predators. In Australia, the native home of these animals, they're commonly known as leafies. The country is so proud of their curious little leafies that they've made them the marine emblem of South Australia. Because of the risk of extinction, Australia has often highlighted the leafies as a focus for local marine conservation efforts. They're determined not to lose their precious little guys. Well, after we've highlighted them in our video, let's hope they feel extra motivated. Save the leafies. Save the leafies. Number 1. Naked mole rat. Some of you are going to make dirty jokes about this animal, and honestly, I understand it. The naked mole rat doesn't look like many other animals. It's hairless and strange looking, and it's pretty much built for the underground world, and the underground world alone. Could you tell? The naked mole rat, or sand puppy, if you don't like the concept of naked animals, is a burrowing rodent native to East Africa. Again, this is an animal built for one environment and one environment only, the underground. How well built is it for that environment? The naked mole rat is an ectothermic or cold-blooded creature, which lacks pain sensitivity in its skin and has a low metabolic and respiratory rate. In addition to being a burrowing champion, its social structure is fascinating. These creatures live in eusocial colonies, much like ants or bees, with a single breeding queen and a caste system of workers and soldiers. Their teeth are uniquely adapted for digging, with about a quarter of their muscle mass dedicated solely to jaw function. They can even move their front teeth independently, making them incredibly efficient at burrowing through tough soils. Naked mole rats are also famous for their longevity, with some living up to 30 years, a rarity among rodents. They can last a shockingly long time, and they're resistant to cancers and oxygen deprivation. So, yeah, they're pretty much built for a life in an underground cave away from the sun. Wouldn't you agree? The naked mole rat may look like a sight for sore eyes, but it's one of the most unique and unforgettable creatures on the planet. Still, it's also one of the many creatures you don't want to see after dark. Just take it from me, an unexpected picture of a naked mole rat is not pleasant. What's the strangest animal you've ever seen? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to check out the other cool videos on the screen, and I'll see you next time.